picked up my protege, 21 EIC, who was a hot shot in Thailand. Took him along.
I met him a few years back.
And he's Champ is great. So I'm just so delighted that Zorro picked up Champ, because they work very well
Right, and then we're going to do a tour of the antennas at about 2.
In the box, we've got 20 old motor road speakers out of taxi cabs. They're dirty, they're filthy. You can smell the cigarette guns all over them. Pretty nasty stuff.
Did them, I can connect.
Yeah, you got all 4 of the port forwarding things.
Yeah, okay. But then I noticed from any PC inside the station, if you try to go to the internet, all you get to is the remote response. He's got all of port 80 set. You know, it's supposed to be port forwarding to allow a couple protocols in port 80 from the outside to this one IP address on the inside. Right. But somehow he's got it set up so everything from the inside for port 80 is hitting this one box.
And bouncing right back again?
Yeah.
Well, no, you've actually got all these things.
I'm a school teacher, thank goodness, and that allows you to move over the cloud. Well, yeah, because it's in Denmark they distinguish between summer houses and year-round houses, and you're not allowed to live in a year-round house vacant. You have to make certain arrangements.
This is what the tower is sitting in. I think. Look at the installation. He's got like an 80-foot tower. Sitting on a cubic foot, not a cubic yard, like a cubic foot. I'm thinking, this stuff is going to fall down.
K1MM software, and you just sit there and you put in the call, you put a K3GEM, hit a button, it goes, really? Then it goes, 5959, count it out, and you say, and you come back on it, and you go, you did a lot of work. That's the one thing. Oh, really? Boom, done. So I don't even have to use, I don't have to bring my key, or we'll say, okay.
Who are using W1AW/3, or especially if you are operating as W1AW/3 at your own station or someone else's station. A couple of very important points. Number 1, you are representing ARRL. So, and almost all the people, you're going to be worker members. So we want to put W1AW in the best possible light. That means no disputes on the air. If someone claims you're in the wrong, assume you are in the wrong, apologize. Even if you're perfectly okay, be as much of a gentleman as you can possibly be. If someone complains about interference, it's not a contest. Here we are serious cooperators. So the mindset is different.
The one inside that room? Yeah, that coordinated. That is. That was on about a year ago. Okay. Yeah. Video on showing.
Three years ago, we had a derecho. 3 of the trees fell on the back guy wires for this tower. Okay, so I cleared those trees out. Last winter,
3 more trees fell on top of the field day antennas and damaged them badly. So I said, okay, twice, that's enough. Trees are gone. So that's not going to happen again. And there's some trees in the back, but they're not. There's nothing there to damage. So we'll just quickly take a look at all the towers from here, and then we'll walk around to most of them. There are 9 towers on the site. 7 of them were installed when the house was originally built almost 30 years ago. 3 of the towers are rotating towers. The one right in front of you is 150 feet tall. It turns from the base. We'll look at that in detail. The one directly behind it also is a rotating tower, same height. And all the way over to your left is another 150-foot rotating tower. We'll walk over to the base of each of those. Is anybody here an expert on antennas who hasn't been on the tour? Is anybody who knows a little bit about antennas? Does anybody here have an antenna?
He's aware.
Who hasn't been? Who's going on this tour for the first time? Okay, we'll pick Paul because his call sign is almost familiar. Paul, what are the antennas on this tower in front of you? What do you think?
I see a 6 meter. I see maybe a 10 meter.
No, there's no 10 meter. So you got one right and one wrong. That's not too good. No 10, there is a 6. That should give you enough of a clue to figure out the others, huh? Yeah. 3 of them are identical. What band are 2 of them are identical. What band are they for? You run out of time.
20.
20 meters, okay. What are the other 2?
15.
Not 15.
No.
So it's not 15, it's not 10. 17, and what's the other one? 12, that's right. The 2 20-meter antennas are at 70 feet and 150 feet. The 6-meter antenna is at 100 feet, the 17 is about 115, and the 12 is about 125 feet. And they work real well, as you'd expect. Yeah, the tower behind it has 3 10-meter Yagis and a 6-meter Yagi at the top. To the left, it's a 200-foot tower with 3 15-meter Yagis. Over by the little building over there is 3 20-meter Yagis. That originally was a repeater, but hasn't been used in more than 20 years. The rotating tower right ahead of us has got 3 15-meter Yagis and a 30-meter Yagi. And then the red and white tower, that tower came from Cheltenham, Maryland at the receive site for NSS. Anybody that's been to Annapolis has seen the NSS transmitter site in Annapolis. Their original receiver site was in Cheltenham, Maryland. And that was one of the towers that came from that site. It's a pair of 10-meter beams and 2 completely rotatable 3-element 40-meter Yagis. Okay, so let's start walking around. Oh yeah, you down corner too? Okay.
It doesn't look too stationary. Last year he had one of the, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but he had something down lower, and then you go, oh, it really is that big. Yeah. You know, you look up there and it's like, it's not so big. Yeah, you know, well, you look at those are 40 meters. Oh, 40-meter beams, you know. Yeah. You go, not so big. Like, yeah, it is. It's just far away.
The magic to these rotating towers are the rings up above. Believe it or not, the base is fairly straightforward. The magic is the rings, and that allows the tower to turn inside the guy wires.
Okay.
And those are not bearings that are in those rings. They are high-strength plastic wheels. There's a set of wheels that's vertical that prevents the upper ring from rubbing on the bottom one, and there's a set of horizontal wheels that keeps it centered. So, and they're high-strength wheels. The tower's been up there for about 12 years. They're plastic wheels on stainless steel spindles.
Is there any maintenance required on those?
Not yet. Don't say that too loud. The rings were designed so they can be, the guy wires can be taken off, and the upper housing can be raised so you can get access to all of the wheels and spindles. But I've never had to do that. How would you? You take off the 3 guy wires and you pull up the upper housing is not physically fastened to the bottom housing. It's held on there only by the guy wire. It weighs about 100 pounds, so you have to lift it up, and then you have no problem getting access to the stainless steel spindles and replacing the wheels if you have to. I hope I never have to.
How much did you have? Yeah, same here.
I don't know. There's lots of things.
Can you describe your rotator?
You can look at it. Well, and when we go over to that tower, that motor is waterproof, so it's not in a box. So we'll actually look at it there. But you can see that the tower is chain driven. That's a motorcycle chain. And the sprocket that the tower is mounted to is a standard commercial sprocket. It's a $15 item. You cannot see the bearing. That's what holds all the weight of the tower. It's a standard commercial bearing, about a $20 item.
How much is the weight of the tower?
Most of the weight is actually from the guy wires, not from the tower. But the tower probably weighs, well, each of these 10-foot sections is 85 pounds. It's 150 feet, so it's about 1,300 pounds of steel. But each guy wire, when there's no wind, each guy wire is putting about 300 pounds of vertical force on it. So there's 9 guy wires times 3, so it's about 2,500 pounds of force from the guy wires. But in the wind, it's much more than that. It picks up substantially.
What's the rotation rate?
About 1 RPM.
It's going to grow into an antenna?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll bet it's going to grow into 9 antennas next weekend. What do you think, Roll? Pretty good chance?
Yes. Pretty good chance.
Okay, anybody guess what this is all about? These are, there are actually 8 antennas here. 3 3-element Yagis for 20 meters, 3 3-element Yagis for 15 meters, and 2 3-element Yagis for 10 meters. And these will get hauled out to the W1AW Stroke 3 Field Day site next Friday. And by the time the sun sets, actually well before, they'll be up in the air and tested and ready to go. So this is the 24-foot boom for the 3-element 20-meter Yagi right here. It's not very heavy. So the driven element goes in the middle, reflector on one end, director on the other. We've had problems in the past with people pointing the antennas the wrong way. So someone had this great idea and it works well. This end points west. See the tape? So this is the director for 20 meters. Not very heavy, it's about 10 pounds. And we haul these antennas over to the field day site just the way you see them. So the elements are all built. So constructing one of these Yagis takes about 20 minutes, something like that.
Commercial design, Frank, or homebrew, or what?
You know better than that. It's my own design. This is specifically designed to build fast at field day. Designed to build a 3-element 20-meter beam in 20 minutes, and it does that real well. Okay.
Since you mentioned, what, 3 for?
I don't think any of you have seen that before. Marty, what is that stuff in front of you? Has nothing to do with VHF, but it has something to do with one of your other favorite bands, so you should know.
It's 160.
What is it?
6.
There are 12 elements
Oh,
there.
it's a receive antenna.
Yes, it is. Better than a beverage.
It's that new receive antenna.
The new. There's a. In the last 10 years or so, W8JI and then W5ZN popularized arrays of phased verticals for receiving on especially 160, but these also work very well on 80 and 40 meters. I'll just point out a couple things. Each of these verticals has 4 wires attached to the top in a very simple way, just like that. This little disc here you can buy from MFJ or DX Engineering. The 4 wires attached to the top. The verticals are 24 feet long. That's not a magic number. The top hat wires are 25 feet long. So top hat wires there, and the only other thing that's unique about this is the base. The end of the vertical is here, and there's a piece of insulating rod right there. So that extends about 4 inches into the vertical, and then 4 inches into this other piece of tubing. So the vertical is fed from there. That's where the vertical is fed, from that point. And then the bottom of this piece of aluminum tubing simply slides over a 1-inch rebar. So to install these antennas, all you do is, with a sledgehammer, put in the rebar base. Takes about a minute. Good idea to get it vertical. Well, but what you do is you pound it in the ground about halfway, get it set vertically, and then pound it in the rest of the way. You leave about that much extending above the surface of the ground, and you drop the bottom of the vertical over the rebar.
How far in the ground does it need to go?
A couple of feet. The entire rebar is only 2 feet long, so it's in the ground about 18 inches. There'll be 4 more, so there'll be another similar 8-element array for 80 meters. If you look at the antenna, you won't see any difference. The only difference is the size of the little inductor at the base.
How many elements are used at a time?
4 are active at any time in this design. There is an alternative design with a different phasing arrangement that requires less space, and all 8 elements are active. I've got plenty of space. This array occupies most of the field. If you can see that black plastic barrier there, and this array occupies most of the space between that barrier and the trees behind it. 350-foot diameter circle. But there is an alternative design to this array that requires only 3/4 of an acre. So I didn't need to use that small design because I've got access to that field back there. Okay, so let's carry on.
What's your transmitter antenna on this?
On the other end. 4-element vertical for transmitter. We'll walk over there later. Blue box. 3 individual feed lines run up this tower to the top, and this box will allow you to select any combination of the 3 antennas, either individually or any pair or all 3. And most of the time we use all 3. That's handy not only for actual use on the air, but if you have a problem with any single antenna, you can isolate which antenna has a problem. Now some people say, well, wouldn't it take a lot less coax if you put that switch up at 90 feet? Yeah, of course it would, but then of course inevitably something would go wrong. Because I don't like to have to fix things. So these antennas are drastically overbuilt. They're designed to withstand 70 miles an hour wind while they have 1 inch of ice on everything. So that's equivalent to no ice at about 130 miles an hour.
Wow. The towers guide the same.
The towers are guided the same way. Yep. There's 5 sets of guys on this tower.
Yeah, definitely doesn't do well in the Tidewater.
And all 3 of those Yagis are the same. They're at 50, 100, and 200. But there's a piece of Dacron rope out here that's 50 years old and it's still fine. It'll last essentially forever. Polypropylene is extremely susceptible to abrasion, and where it fails is where it goes through the pulleys on the top of the tower. In the wind, if you were to look at the ropes where they pass through the pulleys, it's constantly moving back and forth continuously in the wind. So eventually the pulleys will wear the rope out.
How many miles do you use?
I just ordered 7,000 feet. And that won't replace it all, but it'll replace most of it. And this tower came from Cheltenham, so it was part of the NSS receive site. It It was only 120 feet tall there, so this is part of two towers. This tower is 190 feet to where that 40-meter Yagi is at the top. So there's a piece of history there. That tower was probably installed in Cheltenham in the 50s. And I removed it from there with a lot of help in 1980. Over on this side is the 160-meter station, so you can see this switch box right here that controls those verticals we looked at outside. So that steers those 8 verticals in that array and anywhere around the compass. I didn't mention that we used to use beverage antennas.
Did I actually work you?
Well, yeah, but a lot of people, when I was back in the 70s, they were on all the time.
Yeah.
Used to talk to them like locals.
Because a lot of the guys, you know, W2, whatever it's called, as he always says,
It was a club station or something?
Yes, yes.
It was very active.
Yeah, very active, yeah. Good team.
Yeah, impeccable English. I remember they sounded like Americans. They were better than Radio Moscow. They were louder than Radio Moscow, too. I think I don't know what they were using.